Hi, how's it going? It's a pleasure to be hearing. Let me just see if this works. Great. My name is Roy Hui. I'm the one of the co-founders for LightLink Network, and it's fantastic to be here at DevCon. And tremendous thanks to Epic Web3 for inviting me here to talk. So today I'm just going to talk about abstraction, which I think is a really important topic for our industry. It's something that we aspire to, want to build and extend, and encourage everyone to think about abstraction. So it's great to be in Bangkok, to be part of DevCon. It's great to see, this region being well represented, and all the developers and builders coming to Bangkok and celebrate what we have happening in Southeast Asia as well. So just a quick introduction on LightLink. We are a L2 EVM blockchain that's on top of Ethereum. We are very green, important, attribute for the things that we do today. We have a high TPS capability. We're fairly low in terms of transaction fees. And when you switch on a gasless capability for users, it's frictionless, it's gasless. It's 100% EVM equivalent, and it's fairly fast to process a transaction, so under a second. So abstraction is a pretty important topic, as I was saying earlier. One of the best analogy that I actually heard people talking about in terms of abstraction. So a couple of days I got on a plane from Melbourne, where I reside, to here in Bangkok, and I got on a plane, and I realized 99% of the people on the plane have no idea how the plane works. So, but um, including the pilot, right? So if you look at how the engine is structured, how engineering happens for the aerodynamic for the plane to take off, it's it's a remarkable piece of engineering, but most of the people on the plane have no idea how this technology works. But it's not true for our industry. When you look at from a developer perspective, the blockchain lingo are something that we take as norm every day. So when you look at how to send a token from a developer perspective, you need to have a variety of different capabilities. So for example, any developers here in the audience? Actually, we've got quite a few. Awesome. So to send a token, a ERC20 token from a developer perspective, you need to choose the right chain, you need to write a smart contract, you need to work out which RPC node that you need to call, and it's a fairly specialized knowledge. And then you need to work out how to pay for transactions, how to deploy code on a server, how to handle, what happens when there are lots of different requests being submitted, how to queue transactions and things like that. And then you actually need to write the server code and the web code to interact with the Web3 authentication, the different smart contract wallets, so on and so forth. So to send a token from a developer perspective, you need to have knowledge in all these different aspects of technology, which is pretty hard. And that means maybe you need to find the team, members of your team needs to understand infrastructure, members of your team needs to understand how to build UI and things like that. But when you look at us as an industry, who are really our competitors? I would consider, if you look at payments, when you send a token, payments perspective, Stripe is a fierce competitor to everything that we're doing in Web3, right? So when you look at Stripe, in terms of how they can facilitate a transaction, it's much, much easier than what we have in our industry, in the Web3 industry. It's 26 lines of code, and it's really simple to read. A person who doesn't do coding can read this in terms of, this is my key, I'm creating a checkout, sending the currency is USD, I'm selling t-shirts, and it's $20, and this is what happens when it's successful, and this is what happens when it's not. So Yeah, this is the nature of our industry. It's really complex, just like a engine on the aeroplane. And when you look at from a user perspective, it's not easy as well. I'm sure these are all the things that you guys already know, but it's important to reiterate and think about from our perspective, because us as a industry need to should look at how we can grow and address a much larger market. So for us to send a token as a user, you are probably deciding which capability to use. If you're using a mobile device, it's probably more difficult than a desktop device. You have to choose a particular browser. You have to look at which plugin that you want to use. Is it MetaMask? Is it Rabi? Or you have to look at the security you want to implement. And in this particular case, it might be a hardware device. And that's not all, right? Because you need to think about where to keep your seed phrases, to look at your private keys, um, and look at how you can back up your private keys, and so on and so forth. So even to send a token as a user, it's very, very difficult for the normies to enter into this space. And if you've worked with one of these things, because if you have, substantial parts of your personal asset in crypto and you're doing it on MetaMask or a mobile browser, you should get one of these things. But if you've set one of these up, you will know like it's a very difficult exercise. So I guess what I'm trying to say is us as an industry are not making it easy for other people to participate. So when you look at our competitors, so from a developer perspective, the competitor is Stripe, and from a user sending token perspective, when I'm using Apple as an analogy, it's actually much, much simpler than that, right? To send a token, to pay for a coffee, to conduct a particular transaction, you actually just need to double click the thing on the Apple iPhone and do tap on a terminal to conduct that payment. And when you look at the incremental advancement of this technology, iOS 18 launched a NFC payment capability, and you can do peer-to-peer payment right there on the device. So something to think about. And I find that to be fairly interesting to use these analogy as how we should aspire to and things that we should be trying to build. So when I talk about abstraction, I think it's a important capability because it allows much better usability, and because it's much easier to use, we can grow as an industry, and therefore security can be hidden under the hood and not so you have to rearrange your backup keys in a steel plate, and therefore we can mature as an industry, gain more adoption, and other people can build on top of this foundation. So this is what we do at LightLink. We want to accelerate the growth of Web3 from a global perspective, and we're doing this by abstracting everything. So we started this journey 7 years ago, and we've worked with many different brands around the world, including Australian Open. More recently, we've started our capability with Lamborghini as a very iconic brand in Web3. And we started with a enterprise capability for gas abstraction. We've done a bit of R&D in account abstraction, and we're looking at how to uh, have a wider reach in uh, addressing developers to access our on-chain capabilities using APIs. So these are some of the advancements that we've made. So in terms of gas abstraction, we started with this thing that we called enterprise mode. So one of the questions that I get asked by CTOs and CEOs for the past 7 years is, I've got this great token, I can send this token using this capability, but 6 months from now, with my 100,000 users, how much are transactions going to be? And it was a really difficult question to answer because when you look at a native blockchain transaction, it's gas price times the native token price at the time. So for you to estimate how much that is going to be 6 months from now, it's almost an impossible task. So what we did was flipping the tokenomics upside down to have a public mode behave just like everything, all the other public chains, as well as a enterprise mode where enterprise customers can essentially sponsor gas for users using fiat, using something that behaves more like AWS, a monthly fee, and it's fairly welcomed with our customers. So take many large enterprise customers, including Translucia, which we've been working with for the past couple of years. They actually own this, believe it or not, this particular building that we're in today. One of our partners here in Thailand, and they, think this technology is really important for them to do more things in Web3. Um, And when you look at the amount of different crypto developers in the world, I asked ChatGPT a couple of days ago, and there are apparently 25,000 smart contract developers, Web3 developers in our industry, which is a tiny number, right? And when you look at the amount of how many engineers there are that's working on all aspects of technology, there are 28 million. So how do we expose this capability in terms of assets to be able to transfer from one chain to another to all the developers out there? So uh, being inspired by Stripe, with a single line of code calling an API, you can do a lot of different interesting things like transferring asset, minting NFT, so on and so forth. And this is a capability which we've launched not long ago as well. And we've done heaps of R&D with ZK Auth, being inspired by Sui and Aptos, what they're doing from their ZK authentication perspective. We've built a ZK Auth capability where Google or Apple can sign a message, and then we compute a ZK proof on our server, and we send that ZK proof to a smart contract on our chain, and that verifies your identity. So this is a pretty cool equation because firstly, it's a dramatic better user experience because you can sign in with your social credentials, and there's no custodian in the middle that's holding a private key, just like many other previous EOA solutions out there. So I think for a much wider industry adoption, this is a important characteristic. So that's what we're trying to do, abstract everything. And there's a lot more coming. And in terms of the capabilities and partners that we've made along the way, I spoke about Translucia earlier. We've got a couple of members here as well today. And it's cool to see the things that we're doing in Southeast Asia as well. And also a fantastic partner with Animoca doing lots of things across the entire industry. And as I was articulating earlier, we've launched a really cool partnership with Lamborghini that minted out last week. So congrats to the team, but also unlocking a whole ecosystem in, I think, towards the end of November. So that's it. LightLink, just want to tell you guys more about abstraction, the importance of it, and hope we can, build things together using this great technology. And I think it's not only the developers that we should build together, but we welcome every other, industry and category to be utilizing this great technology. Thank you very much.